For this assignment, I'd like you to open up your photography folder, and I've created a color pop folder. I'm going to recommend that you do this as well. If you watched the last video, I talk about the importance of creating originals. So I already have in my originals folder this image here that I'm going to use. It's pretty simple to go back to that other folder in Google Drive. Here's a copy of that image. If I've linked Photopea, all I have to do is double click, go to Open with Photopea. By doing so, this will open Photopea and will load up your selected image from Google Drive. So here's the image that I'm going to work on today. My account button is yellow, which means that I'm signed in, which is going to make the saving process a bit easier. So, in order to get this in black and white, there's a few steps that we need to take. Before we jump into making this black and white, I'm going to crop it down. I don't really like the person in this photo, so I want to crop them out. The crop tool is the fifth tool down on your toolbar, and it is a square with little tails on the end. If you hold it down, there are some options underneath. So if you don't see it and you see one of these icons, it might be hiding under there. To use the crop tool, start by clicking and dragging out a bounding box. On the corners, there are these squares. When you hover over those squares, it will allow you to drag and resize. For the purpose of this assignment, I don't have a specific size for you, so I'm going to resize it as I see fit. We will talk more about rule of thirds and composition later on this year. Once I'm happy with my selection, up top, I will click on the check mark. The reason you want to crop before changing your saturation and your levels is because it will change based on the colors and values within your image. So remember to crop first. I'm going to go down to the bottom and select on hue and saturation. Here we're going to desaturate the image by moving the saturation option all the way to the left. This will remove the color from the image. To close this up, I'm going to click PRO. Now to bump up some of our highlights or tone them down, and the same with our blacks and our shadows, I'm going back to the same option of new adjustment layer. Here, I will click on levels. When you click on levels, it will open up a graph that looks like mountains. We're only moving the black square and the white square. I always recommend moving them to the edge of the mountains. And as you can see in this photo, I'm pretty close on both sides. So I'm going to alter them slightly just to see how it looks and changes my image. We don't want to overexpose or underexpose and lose all of those great details. We just want to use this to enhance our image. Once you're done with that, click on PRO to hide your properties. Now we have an image that is black and white, but we want something to stand out. We want our color to pop. I'm going to hide my levels and hide my hue. I do this by clicking on the eyeball. So now I can see what I have to choose from. What I'm going to choose for this is just this green building right here. So I'm going to click on my background layer. I know I'm on my background layer because it is shaded gray. If your background is locked, just click on that lock to unlock it. Now, how am I going to select everything that is green? Control plus will allow you to zoom in and Control minus to zoom out. On a Mac, Command plus and Command minus. You may need to zoom in. So let's say I just want to have the bottom part of this building. So I'm going to zoom in so I can see. Once I'm happy, I'm going to find my magnetic lasso. Now this will not be seen from hovering over the toolbar. The third option down is your lasso select. If you click and hold that down, you have some other lasso options. I like the magnetic lasso because this will link on and magnetize to your selection. Don't worry about the options up top. We will talk about those later on. So I'm going to start in this top corner. I'm going to click, and by clicking, that will drop an anchor point. As I move my mouse, it will attach based on the color. Now, because I have this shadow, I'm going to bring that line up. This is a tool that you're going to have to get used to, and the more that you use it, the better you will get at it. Okay, so I'm going to drop an anchor point here because I feel like I'm running into problems. So if it isn't grabbing on, just keep clicking and moving. Ooh, sometimes the bigger spaces, they look pretty easy, but you want to drop those anchor points. So by clicking, you're adding those points. For your first color pop, I would definitely recommend a simple photo. This is a bit complicated, but I bet it's going to look cool when it's done. Maybe when you get to your third photo, you can try something more intricate and test out some ideas. Oh, see, that reached away. It is going to take time, so do not feel like you need to move as fast as I am, and it's going to vary based on your object. So it looks like I'm going to run into a little bit of a problem with this edge, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to go with it. So normally I would be taking my time, going much slower, really dropping as many anchor points to keep it nice and neat, but I don't want you to get too bored. When I get back to the end, I'm going to click on that first anchor point. And if I did that, and if you did that as well, you will get this dotted line. This dotted line is showing us what we've selected. We are now going to copy and paste what's there. You have two options for this. Edit, copy, or if you're on a Mac, Command C, or on your Chromebook, Control C. Edit, paste, same thing, Command V. You can also go up to that menu like I did. If this comes up, we want to allow. When you paste, you should get a new layer called Layer 1. If I hide my background layer, it should be what I've cut out, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to bring back my background layer. I'm going to zoom back out so we can see the entire image. And I'm going to bring back that black and white. So I'm going to bring back my levels and my hue and saturation by clicking on those little eyeballs. How these adjustment layers work is based on where they are on your layers palette, everything underneath will follow suit. So if we want layer 1 to stay in color, we need to drag it and bring it above those adjustment layers. Doing that will allow that piece to stay in color while everything underneath the adjustment layers stays in black and white. So this is pretty cool if you ask me. Maybe if I were to really work on this photo, I would go back in to the top part as well, and maybe another building down here to add some color. So this is how you're going to do your color pop. Test things out. If you do not like your magnetic lasso and you want to try Lasso Select instead, feel free to try that out. Have fun with this. It's one of my favorite projects.